a station of 40,000 froze in terror, because the forbidden alien calmly saved them without touching a single mind. And the impossible part? The only thing stopping her power from rewriting reality was one exhausted human eating lunch beside her. If a quiet choice can break a galactic fear, what else have we been wrong about? Tell me where you're watching from. Subscribe to join us, and let's begin the story. Green Level 3 of Helix 3 Station had one rule everyone knew, but no one said out loud: stay away from that corner. The garden stretched across the observation deck, artificial sunlight filtering through the dome ceiling, casting warm patterns on recycled water that pretended to be a lake. Students sprawled on benches, technicians ate lunch on the grass, couples whispered near the fountain. Life happened everywhere except in that one spot near the far wall, where a single bench sat empty beside a small grove of engineered trees. Not empty exactly. She was always there. Carrie sat with her hands folded in her lap, her posture perfectly still. She looked almost human at first glance. Almost. Her skin carried a faint silver-gray luminescence, like moonlight trapped under pale flesh. Dark hair fell to her shoulders, usually pulled back in a half-tie that exposed the thin metal collar around her neck. The collar bore warning symbols in 6 languages, glowing faintly when she moved. Her eyes were what made people look away. Violet irises, too large, too aware. They tracked every movement in the garden with the careful attention of someone who had learned that being noticed meant being feared. The bench beside her remained empty. The security cameras in the corner remained focused. The discreet guards near the garden entrance remained ready. This was how it had been for 8 months, until Jonah Cade walked into the garden with a food container in one hand and exhaustion written across his face. He was 35, lean from physical work, with a kind of weathered look that came from spending too much time fixing things and not enough time sleeping. Grease stained his maintenance uniform at the elbows. His hair stuck up in 3 directions. He had exactly 20 minutes before his next shift started, and he wanted to eat somewhere that did not smell like recycled air filters. He scanned the garden. Every bench was taken. Every spot on the grass claimed by groups of students or workers, except that corner. He saw the empty bench, saw the small warning sign mounted on the railing behind it, monitored area, restricted contact. He saw the woman sitting there, the collar, the way everyone gave that space a wide berth. He thought, if it is monitored, it is probably the safest spot in the whole station. He walked over and dropped onto the bench 2 meters away from her. He opened his container. Steam rose from reheated pasta. He ate 3 bites before he remembered to breathe. Carrie went rigid, her fingers pressed together tightly. She waited for the inevitable moment when he would notice who sat beside him, when he would make an excuse and leave like everyone else did. He did not leave. He ate. He sighed. He rubbed his eyes with the back of his hand. After 5 minutes of silence, he glanced over and said, "I always wonder about something nobody ever asks. What is your name?" Or, Carrie blinked slowly, the Voron gesture for confusion. For 8 months, people had called her she, or it, or the restricted one. They discussed her in meetings. They monitored her vitals. They logged her movements in reports. No one had asked her name. "Carrie," she said quietly, her accent carrying the slight musical lilt of Voron speech. "Jonah." He started to extend his hand, then remembered the collar and pulled back slightly. "Can I?" "Better not." Her lips curved in something too sad to be called a smile. "Safer this way." He nodded and went back to eating. He did not ask what she was. He did not ask why she wore the collar. He just sat there, chewing pasta, occasionally making small, satisfied sounds when he hit a good bite. After another 3 minutes, he said, "I fixed a burst pipe on Blue Level today, 3rd one this week. Whoever installed the climate control system 20 years ago did a terrible job. I spend half my life with a wrench and the other half filling out incident reports." Carrie said nothing, but she tilted her head slightly, the Voron gesture for attention. Anyway, he finished the pasta and closed the container. Back to it, I guess. He stood up, stretched, then glanced at her again. Maybe I will see you tomorrow. This seems like a good spot. He walked away without waiting for an answer. Carrie sat frozen for a long moment after he left. Then, very quietly, she repeated the name he had given her. Jonah. It felt strange in her mouth. Warm. Real. For the first time in 8 months, someone had treated her like a person with a name. The collar's sensors registered a slight elevation in her emotional state. The security feed recorded no incident. The guards remained in position. But something had shifted. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow he might come back. And despite everything she had learned about hope being dangerous, despite the weight of the collar and the isolation and the fear, she found herself waiting for it. Jonah came back the next day at the same time. Same bench, same food container. He sat down like it was the most natural thing in the world. Carrie had been waiting, though she told herself she was not. She had positioned herself at the exact same angle, hands folded the exact same way. But her eyes tracked him from the moment he entered the garden. "Hey," he said, opening his lunch. "Reheated curry today. I am trying to work through my freezer stash before everything gets too old to trust." She made a small sound that might have been acknowledgement. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Then he said, "Do you like music?" Carrie's head turned slightly. "What kind?" "Any kind. I was just wondering if Voren have music. I mean, everyone has music, right? But I bet it sounds different." No one had ever asked her that. They asked about her capabilities, her neural patterns, her threat level, not about music. "We do," she said carefully. "It is. Lower in tone, more about rhythm than melody. Humans find it strange?" "Strange is not bad," Jonah said. He took another bite of curry. "Strange is just different. Different is interesting." Over the next 10 minutes, the conversation expanded in small increments. He asked about Nerion, the ocean planet below. Had she seen it up close? She had, once, during her transfer. She described the way the water moved in massive swells, different from anything on Voren worlds. He asked about food. She explained that Voren cuisine focused on textures more than flavors, that humans found their traditional dishes bland. "We could fix that," he said. "Add some hot sauce. Humans put hot sauce on everything. It is basically our signature move." Something unexpected happened. Carrie laughed. Just a small sound, quickly cut off but genuine. Her hand flew to her mouth. The collar reacted immediately. A faint electric pulse made her neck muscles contract. Her expression shifted from surprise to pain in an instant. Jonah noticed. "Did that hurt you?" She touched the collar with shaking fingers. "It measures vocal intensity, emotional content. When I express too much, it applies pressure." "You mean it shocked you for laughing?" "It warned me," she corrected quietly. "That is insane." His voice carried real anger now. "Someone actually invented a device that punishes you for being happy. Congratulations to them. Real humanitarian work there." Carrie stared at him. In 8 months, everyone who learned about the collar had the same reaction. Relief. Validation that she was being properly contained. But Jonah looked at the collar like it was the problem, not her. "It keeps people safe," she said automatically, repeating what she had been told. "From what? From hearing you laugh?" He shook his head. "That is not safety. That is just cruelty with paperwork." Across the garden, Dr. Leon Joe watched from behind her tablet. She had been monitoring Carrie's integration efforts for months with little progress. Now she saw elevated emotional response, increased speech patterns, physical relaxation, all from a maintenance worker eating lunch. She made notes. This could be significant. Near the fountain, a young man named Rhett nudged his friend and pointed his phone toward the bench. "Check this out. Idiot human getting cozy with the psychic bomb. How long before she reprograms him?" His friend laughed nervously. "Should we report it?" "I am recording it. Let everyone see how careless people are being. Back on the bench, Jonah was attempting to explain Earth slang. Carrie tried to pronounce basically and failed 3 times, her accent turning it into something that sounded like basically. He grinned. Close enough? You will get it. She wanted to ask why he kept coming back, why he was not afraid, but the words felt too heavy, too revealing. Instead, she did something she had not done in months. She touched her own neck with her fingertips, not the collar, just below it, where her pulse showed. The Voran gesture for, I speak honestly. I am grateful. Jonah did not know what it meant, but he saw the shift in her posture, the way her shoulders dropped slightly from their defensive position. Same time tomorrow? He asked as he stood to leave. If you want, she said softly. I want. After he left, Carrie sat alone with something unfamiliar warming her chest. She did not have a word for it in Standard or in Voran, but it felt dangerously close to hope. The collar registered her elevated emotional state. Security logged the interaction. Rhett posted the video to the station's student network with the caption, "How long before this goes wrong?" But none of that mattered as much as the simple fact that tomorrow Jonah would come back. And maybe, just maybe, she could laugh again, even if the collar did not approve. The routine became solid over the next week. Jonah appeared every day at the same time. They talked about small things, favorite colors, bad shifts, the weird smell in Corridor 7B that nobody could identify. But on the 8th day, Carrie finally told him what she was. Have you heard of Anchor Voice? She asked quietly. Jonah set down his sandwich. No. Some Voran are born with it. Our voices can... She struggled for the right words. Reorganize emotional states, calm panic, reinforce memories, or erase them. He processed this. So your voice can change how people think, how they feel, what they remember. In the past, some used it for control. Politicians, military leaders, they could make entire populations forget why they were angry, forget who had wronged them. Bloodless coups, silent massacres. Her hands trembled. That is why I wear this collar, why everyone stays away. But you have not done anything like that here? I did once, when I was 7. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. There was a riot on a Voran station. People were screaming, fighting. I was so scared. I just wanted them to stop. So I said, please stop. That is all. Just those 2 words. She closed her eyes, remembering. 200 people stopped, immediately, but I had no control. I did not just calm them. I erased the memories that made them angry, trade disputes, personal grievances. Some people lost entire relationships because I accidentally removed the emotions that defined them. She opened her eyes, and they were wet. I tried to help. I destroyed pieces of 200 lives. Jonah was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I used to be a rescue worker. Asteroid colony, mining operations. I led a team. This was the first personal thing he had shared. There was a collapse. Section C, 23 people trapped. We got to them fast. I made the calls. Who to dig out first. Where to focus the equipment. We saved 14. He stared at his hands. 9 died while we worked. I chose wrong. Prioritized the wrong tunnels. Second-guessed myself at critical moments. Those 9 died because I was not fast enough, not smart enough. You saved 14, Carrie said. I killed 9. His voice was flat. I quit. Came here. Now I fix pipes. Pipes do not ask you to save them. They just leak, and you patch them, and nobody dies if you are slow. They sat in silence, 2 people carrying impossible weights. Finally, Carrie said, Your power made you run away. Mine made others run from me. Neither of us chose this. No, Jonah agreed. But you know what is different now? What? You did not run when I sat down, and I am not running now. He met her violet eyes. Maybe we are both tired of running. Across the station, in a sterile office, Dr. Lian Zhou stood before Director Valen Orz's desk, presenting her case. She needs human context, Leon insisted. Social integration. The maintenance worker has initiated more progress in 8 days than we achieved in 8 months. Valen's face was carved from bureaucratic stone. The maintenance worker is untrained and unsupervised. One mistake from her, and we have collective amnesia. Memory wipes. I have 14 incident reports from other stations where anchor voices were involved. 14 disasters. Those were uncontrolled situations. Carrie has never used her ability here. She is terrified of it. Good. Fear is appropriate. Valen tapped his desk screen. The collar stays, the protocols stay, and if this maintenance worker becomes a problem, I will reassign him to the outer docks where he cannot interfere. Leon left his office furious but helpless. Back in the garden, Carrie was whispering something Jonah almost did not catch. "You did not run today." "No," he said. "I did not." "Why not?" He thought about it. Really thought. "Because being around you is the first time in 3 years that I have felt like maybe failing is not the only thing I am good at. You listen. You care about the answer. You make curry jokes. That matters more than any power you might have." She touched her neck again. The honest gesture. But this time her fingers lingered, and Jonah understood that for the Voran, this was vulnerability. This was trust. "Same time tomorrow?" he asked. "Yes," she said, and this time there was no hesitation. The collar monitored, the cameras recorded. Rhett posted another video with increasingly worried commentary. But in that moment, on that bench, 2 broken people discovered that maybe, just maybe, they did not have to carry their weights alone. Maybe having someone who understood what it meant to be afraid of your own capabilities was worth more than any protocol. Maybe sitting beside someone who chose to stay was the beginning of something neither of them had names for yet. Tomorrow, Jonah would bring extra food. Tomorrow, Carrie would be waiting. And neither of them was running anymore. 2 weeks became 3. 3 became a month. The bench was no longer just a bench, it was their spot. Jonah started bringing extra portions, things Carrie might like, fruit from the hydroponics bay. Sweet pastries that made her eyes widen with surprise. He learned that she preferred cold water to warm, that she found human coffee bitter beyond comprehension, that she could sit perfectly still for 20 minutes without discomfort. She learned that he talked with his hands when excited, that he had a scar on his left forearm from a welding accident, that he hummed when he thought no one was listening. Today, he was teaching her slang. "Okay, so when something is broken but you fix it with whatever you have lying around, that is called a gambiarra. Well, that is Portuguese. In English, it is like jerry-rigged, or a MacGyver solution." Mac. Guy. Veer? She tested each syllable carefully. Close enough. It means fixing things with creativity and duct tape instead of proper tools. And this is respected? It is survival. Sometimes the right tool is not available, so you make do. Humans are very good at making do. Carrie absorbed this. On Voran worlds, improvisation was seen as lack of planning, but here it was almost celebrated. Strange. Interesting. "What about desenrolla?" he continued. "That is when you smooth over a problem, talk your way out of trouble, like diplomatic improvisation." She tried to pronounce it, failed completely. The syllables tangled on her tongue, and the frustrated sound she made was so un-Voran that Jonah laughed. "You will get it. Keep trying." "Desenrolla," she attempted again, rolling the R too much. "Now you sound like a spaceship engine." Despite herself, she smiled. Not the sad half-smile from before, a real one. The collar pulsed. She controlled it faster now, catching the emotion before it fully expressed. But Jonah saw the wince. "I hate that thing," he muttered. "It keeps me safe." "It keeps you muzzled, Not the same thing. She changed the subject before the caller could react to her surge of gratitude. Voron have something similar, movement-based communication, small gestures that convey complex meanings. Show me? She hesitated, then slowly demonstrated. A tilt of the head for respect, a touch to the throat for honesty, a slow blink for embarrassment or overwhelm. Jonah tried to copy them. His head tilt was too sharp. His throat touch looked like he was checking for a pulse. His slow blink looked like he had something in his eye. Carrie laughed, actually laughed, despite the caller's immediate warning pulse. "You look like you are having a medical emergency," she said between giggles. "Hey, cultural exchange is hard." But he was grinning, pleased to make her laugh even if it cost her discomfort. There is also movement, a kind of meditation dance. It helps calm emotional states naturally. She stood, demonstrating a slow, flowing motion, arms extending, folding back, her whole body moving like water. "Can you teach me? You want to learn Voron calming technique? Why not? I could use some calm." She guided him through the movements. He tried. He really did. But human joints did not bend quite the same way, and his sense of rhythm was enthusiastic, but terrible. After 3 minutes, he lost his balance and nearly fell into the recycled lake. Carrie caught his arm. Skin touched skin for half a second before they both pulled back. The collar shrieked a warning. Red lights flashed along its surface. They froze, hands hovering in the space between them, the moment crystallizing into something neither wanted to name. "Sorry," he said. "Do not be." Their eyes met. Held. Something unspoken passed between them, something that had been building for weeks. Across the garden, Rhett stormed toward them, 2 of his friends trailing behind. "Hey, maintenance guy!" Rhett planted himself in front of the bench. "You know what she can do, right? You know she can reprogram your brain with a few words. That collar is the only thing stopping her." Jonah stood slowly. He was not tall, but he was solid. "Yeah, I know what she can do." "Then why are you here every day? Are you stupid or suicidal?" "Neither. I am here because she made me laugh for the first time in 3 years. If that is reprogramming, then reprogram away. I will take laughing over being dead inside." Rhett's friends shifted uncomfortably. This was not going as planned. "She is dangerous," Rhett insisted, but his voice had lost certainty. "She is a person with a name," Jonah corrected. "And she has been sitting alone for 8 months because everyone decided fear was easier than curiosity. That is what is dangerous. Not her. You." Rhett opened his mouth, closed it, then stormed off with his friends muttering behind him. Jonah sat back down. His hands were shaking slightly. He was not a confrontation person. He fixed pipes. He kept his head down. But apparently he was a defending Carrie person now. "Thank you," she said quietly. "No thanks needed." He was being a jerk. Jonah rubbed his face. "Sorry if I made things worse." "You did not. You—" She touched her throat. "Honest. You made me feel less alone." When he left that day, Carrie sat on the bench touching the spot where their hands had almost stayed connected. The collar had prevented it. The rules had prevented it. But for 1 second she had felt what it was like to reach for someone and have them reach back. That night, alone in her small assigned quarters, she touched her throat again and whispered to the empty room, "He is not afraid." The collar registered the elevated emotional state, but it could not stop her from hoping. Dr. Leon Zhou appeared at the bench on a Tuesday morning, interrupting their routine for the first time. "Carrie, Mr. Cade, I need to speak with both of you." Jonah looked up from his coffee. "Is there a problem?" "The opposite, actually. I have been observing the progress over these weeks. Carrie's emotional regulation has improved. Her isolation markers have decreased. I believe we have an opportunity here." Leon pulled up her tablet, showing neural scan comparisons. "I want to conduct a controlled test of the anchor voice, with Mr. Cade as a voluntary anchor point." Carrie went very still. "No. Hear me out. What if we could prove that anchor voice, when directed through a willing human participant, becomes predictable, controllable? We could revolutionize how we understand your abilities. Or I could hurt him, Carrie said flatly. I will do it, Jonah said. Jonah, no, you do not understand what. I understand that you have been afraid of yourself for most of your life. I understand that fear is what keeps you in that collar. If there is a chance to prove that you are not a weapon, then I am in. He looked at Leon. What does the test involve? Carrie would use her anchor voice to address a specific emotional state in you, something manageable but real. We would monitor neural activity, emotional response, memory retention. If it works without causing damage, we have proof that human emotional resilience can act as a natural buffer. When? Jonah asked. I can have the lab ready this afternoon, but Director Valen will need to approve it, and he will want every safety measure in place. 3 hours later, Jonah sat in a medical chair in Lab 7, sensors attached to his temples, chest, and wrists. Carrie stood 5 meters away, her hands shaking. Director Valen watched from behind reinforced glass with 4 security personnel on standby. This is insane, Carrie whispered. Probably, Jonah agreed. But I trust you. What if I take something from you? What if I change who you are? Then we will figure it out together. Stop worrying about worst cases and try. He smiled. I am not afraid of you, remember? Leon's voice came through the intercom. Carrie, we are starting with something simple. Jonah is going to think about his past trauma, the collapse. I want you to use your voice to ease the immediate anxiety response without removing the memory. Just calm it. Make it manageable. Carrie nodded. She closed her eyes, centering herself. When she opened them, they glowed faintly violet. Jonah thought about the collapse, the screaming, the choice of which tunnel to prioritize. The faces of the 9 who died. His heart rate spiked on the monitors. Carrie spoke. Her voice layered with something that was not quite sound, not quite feeling. It bypassed the ears and went straight to the nervous system. Breathe, Jonah. The memory is yours to keep. The pain does not have to drown you. You saved 14. That matters. Let the weight become bearable. The sensation was overwhelming. Like someone had reached into his chest and adjusted a dial he did not know existed. The memories remained sharp and clear. The faces, the choices, but the crushing guilt that usually accompanied them softened, became something he could look at without being destroyed by it. Tears ran down his face, but he was smiling. I remember them, he said, voice cracking. I remember all of it, but it does not hurt the same way. I can breathe around it now. The monitors showed elevated emotional response but stable neural patterns. No memory degradation. No personality markers shifting. Just natural emotional regulation, accelerated by external influence. Leon was barely breathing. This is incredible. Carrie, do you feel any loss of control? No, I can feel where his boundaries are, like... She struggled for the metaphor. Like his emotions have edges I cannot cross without him letting me. He is limiting me just by being himself. Valen's voice crackled through the speaker. Run it again. Different emotional target. They ran 3 more tests. Each time, the same result. Carrie's anchor voice could influence but not control. Jonah's natural emotional resilience acted as a filter, turning weaponized influence into therapeutic suggestion. When they finished, Jonah stood on shaky legs. Carrie started toward him, then remembered the rules, and stopped. How do you feel? She asked. Lighter, like I have been carrying a bag of rocks for 3 years and someone finally cut the strap. He looked at her with something close to wonder. You did not hurt me. You helped me. Director Valen entered the lab, his expression unreadable. Interesting results. Very interesting. Dr. Zhou, prepare a full report. Mr. Cade, I am authorizing you for Level 2 clearance. This partnership may have applications beyond research. Jonah frowned. What kind of applications? Crisis intervention, diplomatic mediation, psychological stabilization operations. If the two of you can replicate this reliably, you could become an invaluable asset to station security. B? Asset? Carrie's voice was quiet, but Jonah heard the fear underneath. We will discuss it after the full analysis. Congratulations, both of you. This is groundbreaking work. Valen left with his security team, already talking into his comm about expanded protocols. Leon looked troubled. Carrie, this is good news. We proved you are not dangerous when properly supported. He said asset, not person, asset. Carrie's eyes were wide. He is going to use this. Use us. Let him try, Jonah said firmly. We proved what we needed to prove. You are not a weapon. You are someone who can help people. That is what matters. But later, after Jonah had left and Carrie was alone in her quarters, she accessed restricted files through a terminal crack she was not supposed to have. She found the records. 7 other anchor voices, recruited by various governments and organizations over the past century for asset utilization. All of them eventually disappeared from official records. All of them classified as retired or relocated with no further trace. Every single one had been used until they broke, then discarded when they were no longer useful. She sat in the dark, understanding the trap she had just stepped into. She had thought proving her ability was not dangerous would set her free. Instead, she had just proven she was too valuable to ever let go. The collar felt heavier than ever. Director Valen called the meeting 3 days after the successful test. Mandatory attendance for Carrie, Jonah, and Dr. Leon. His office was all smooth surfaces and cold efficiency, the kind of room designed to make you feel small. I have submitted our findings to the Station Council, Valen began, hands folded on his desk. The response has been unanimously positive. We are authorizing a new program, crisis mediation through controlled psychic intervention. Carrie, you will be the pilot subject. Mr. Cade, you will serve as her mandatory anchor in all operations. Operations? Jonah echoed. Hostage situations? Mental health emergencies? De-escalation scenarios? Your success rate in the lab was 97%. Applied in the field, you could save lives. Valen's smile did not reach his eyes. Of course, this will require enhanced supervision. Scheduled sessions, performance reviews. We will need to document everything. Carrie's voice was barely audible. For how long? For as long as the program proves effective. This is a tremendous opportunity. You will finally be contributing meaningfully to station safety instead of being a monitored liability. After the meeting, Carrie walked to the garden on autopilot. Jonah followed, concerned by her silence. You have been quiet, he said when they reached their bench. I need to show you something. She pulled up files on her personal tablet, hands shaking as she scrolled through them. I should not have these, but I hacked the restricted archive. The files detailed 7 anchor voices over the past 100 years. Recruitment, initial successes, expanding responsibilities, then sudden classifications as relocated or retired with no forwarding information, no closure, no trace. They use us until we burn out, Carrie whispered. Until the control slips or we refuse a mission or we are simply not useful anymore. Then, we disappear. Jonah read through the files, his expression darkening. These cannot be legitimate. There are treaties, rights, for citizens, for people. I am classified as a psychic asset. Assets do not have rights. They have functions. Leon would not allow this. Leon does not know, or she knows and believes the benefits outweigh the risks. Either way, I am trapped. Carrie looked at him with something breaking in her violet eyes. I thought proving I was not dangerous would free me. Instead, I proved I was too useful to ever let go. So we refuse, we tell Valen no. And then what? They remove you from the program, put the collar on a tighter setting, find another human anchor who will cooperate, someone who sees me as a tool, not a person. She touched her throat, the honest gesture, but this time it trembled. You gave me my name back. I will not let them use me to take yours. Ieta meaning what? There is a cargo ship leaving for neutral space in 6 days. I have been monitoring the schedules. If I can bypass the security checkpoint during shift change, I can get on board. Disappear before they escalate protocols. Jonah stared at her. You are planning to run. I have to. No, we have to. He said it so simply, so matter-of-factly, that she almost missed the meaning. Jonah, you cannot. Why not? What is here for me? Pipes? Incident reports? The memory of 9 people I failed to save? Being around you is the only thing that has made me feel alive in 3 years. If you leave, I go back to being a walking corpse who happens to have a pulse. So, if you are running, I am running with you. You do not understand. If they catch us, you will be charged with aiding the escape of a restricted entity. You would lose everything. I have nothing to lose. But you? You are something. He leaned forward, intensity in his tired eyes. You think I do not see what you did? You taught me how to laugh again, how to care about something other than avoiding responsibility. You did not reprogram me. You reminded me what being human is supposed to feel like. That is not a power to control. That is just being you. Jonah, I am not letting them turn you into a tool, and I am not staying here to watch them try. Carrie felt something crack open in her chest. For 8 months she had been alone. For 3 years before that, she had been afraid. But here was someone who looked at her power and saw potential for good, who looked at her isolation and chose to break it, who looked at the risk and said, I am staying anyway. The ship leaves at 400 hours, Doc 7, she said quietly. Then we have 6 days to plan. That afternoon, Jonah returned to his quarters and started packing. Only essentials, credits, ID chips, the small metal figurine his daughter had made before the collapse, the one thing he had kept from his old life. But as he packed, doubt crept in. Was he really doing this? Abandoning his job, his safety, his entire existence for someone he had known for weeks? Then he remembered her laugh, the way she touched her throat when she wanted to say thank you but could not find words, the look in her eyes when she realized he was not leaving the bench. Yes, he was really doing this. Across the station, Dr. Leon Zhou reviewed the neural scans from the tests again. Something was bothering her. The results were perfect. Too perfect. Valen had approved everything too quickly, asked too few questions. She pulled up historical precedents for psychic intervention programs. What she found made her blood run cold. In her office, she drafted a message to the Medical Ethics Board, flagging concerns about program oversight and historical patterns of abuse. But before she could send it, her terminal flashed with a priority message from Valen. Meeting tomorrow, 0900. Mandatory. Expansion of mediation protocols discussed. Your expertise required. She deleted her draft and sat in the dark, weighing ethics against outcomes, friendship against scientific progress. Sometimes, she had learned, good intentions paved the most dangerous roads. At 200 hours the next morning, alarms screamed through Helix 3. Not the scheduled drill, not the calm, controlled evacuation exercise. Real alarms, emergency protocols, the kind that meant something had gone catastrophically wrong. Carrie's plan to escape in 6 days died before it could even start, because sometimes the universe forces your hand, and sometimes the only choice left is the one you were too afraid to make. The alarm was not supposed to sound like that. Evacuation drills were calm, measured, automated voices giving clear instructions, people moving to designated safe zones with practiced efficiency. This was chaos. Carrie woke to red emergency lighting and a voice over the station intercom that kept cutting out. Structural integrity compromise. Green level. Immediate evacuation. All personnel to... The message dissolved into static. She rushed to her door. It was locked. Emergency protocol. Restricted entities remain secured during crises unless explicitly released by station command. She slammed her palm against the intercom panel. "This is Carrie, quarters G7. What is happening?" No response. Just alarms and the sound of running feet in the corridor outside. Her tablet showed the station schematic. A gravity stabilizer in green level 3 had malfunctioned during the scheduled drill. Not catastrophic, but the drill had become a real emergency, and the systems could not distinguish between simulation and crisis. Lockdown protocols activated across multiple sections. Hundreds of people were trapped in corridors, rushing toward exits that would not open. The crowd crush was beginning. Green level 3. The garden was there. Her bench was there. Jonah would be there. She overrode the door lock with the same hack she had used to access restricted files. The door opened to a scene of controlled panic becoming uncontrolled terror. People ran. Children cried. Someone screamed about a psychic breach, and the rumor spread like fire. "It is her, the Forbidden One. She caused this." Carrie pressed herself against the wall as the crowd surged past. She could feel their fear like a physical weight. The anchor voice wanted to activate, wanted to soothe, wanted to help. But she remembered the 200, the erased memories, the destroyed relationships. The collar vibrated against her throat, detecting the stress, warning her, containing her. She ran toward the garden. The scene there was worse. The main evacuation route from Green Level passed through the garden corridor. Hundreds of people bottlenecked at a single doorway, pressing forward, crushing those in front. She saw a child separated from her parents, sobbing. She saw an elderly Therian struggling to breathe in the press. She saw panic becoming stampede, and there, in the middle of it, was Jonah. He was trying to organize people, his maintenance vest making him visible. "Slow down, take turns, we have time." But fear was louder than reason. He saw Carrie and his expression shifted from focused to desperate. He pushed through the crowd toward her. "The gravity stabilizer is failing," he shouted over the noise. "If it goes completely, people will be thrown around. We need to get them out now, but they are crushing each other." "I cannot help," Carrie said, her voice breaking. "If I use my voice like this, without control, I could... If you do not, people will die. Right here. Right now." He grabbed her shoulders, not caring about the collar's warning pulse. "I know you are scared. I know what happened before. But this time, you have me. Jonah, I could take everything from you. I could erase who you are. Then you will have to live with that. But these people do not have to die because we were too afraid to try." Around them, the panic was escalating. Someone threw a punch. Someone else went down. The child's screaming reached a pitch that cut through everything. Carrie looked at the chaos, looked at Jonah, looked at her hands. She had spent years being afraid of her power. Years believing that using it meant destroying others. But Jonah had proven something in that lab. Her voice did not have to be a weapon, not if she had someone to anchor her, someone who would feel it first and choose how to respond, someone who trusted her enough to risk everything. "If I do this," she whispered, "you have to be my limit. You feel everything first. If I start to go too far, if I start to take too much, you have to pull me back." "How?" "I do not know. Refuse me. Fight it, just be yourself. That worked before." "Carrie, Jonah, I need you to promise. Promise you will not let me become the thing I am afraid of." He met her eyes, those violet eyes that had been full of nothing but fear when he first sat on that bench. Now they held terror and determination in equal measure. "I promise," he said. "Now come on." They pushed through the crowd to the highest point they could reach, a raised platform near the garden entrance. Jonah pulled himself up first, then hauled Carrie after him. "Hey!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Everyone, look here." Some people did. Most did not. The panic was too deep, the fear too loud. Carrie felt the anchor voice building in her chest like pressure, like drowning, like the only way to save them was to risk destroying them. She looked at Jonah one more time. "I'm sorry for what I might do to you. Do not be sorry. Just trust yourself the way I trust you." She reached out and touched his shoulder, skin to skin. Anchor point established. The collar shrieked. Red lights flashed. It tried to suppress the voice, tried to contain it, but this was emergency mode. This was life or death. This was everything she had been trained to never do. She did it anyway. She opened her mouth, and the anchor voice came out in a wave of layered sound and feeling that bypassed panic and spoke directly to the nervous systems of everyone in range. Breathe. The command was simple, undeniable, but it hit Jonah first. He felt it like a punch to the chest, every emotion in his body suddenly subject to external influence. Calm tried to override fear, focus tried to override chaos, but he was human, messy, resistant, imperfect. He did not fight it. He absorbed it, filtered it, turned weapon into suggestion. "Breathe," he shouted, amplifying her command into something concrete. "Nobody runs. Nobody pushes. Look at the floor lights. Blue line means exit. Follow it. Slow. Together." The anchor voice flowed through him and into the crowd, but transformed. Not mind control, not erasing fear, just reminding people they had a choice. Reminding them that surviving together was better than dying alone. The panic did not disappear, but it changed. People stopped pushing, started looking, started thinking. "Blue line," someone shouted. "There, the floor." "Slow down. Help them up." Rhett, who had been pressed against a wall in terror, looked up and saw Carrie on the platform, saw her holding Jonah's shoulder, saw her eyes glowing violet with effort. The forbidden alien using her forbidden power. And people were listening, moving, surviving. A child stumbled near him. Without thinking, he caught her, lifted her, kept her from being crushed. The evacuation became organized, slow but steady. The crowd moved like a single organism now, each person aware of the others, no one sacrificing their neighbor for speed. Carrie sustained the voice for 3 agonizing minutes. The collar burned against her throat, literally burning, trying to shut her down. But she pushed through it, anchored to Jonah, trusting him to be her limit. Finally, the corridor cleared. The last person made it through the exit. The alarm shifted tones. Crisis downgraded. The collar sparked one last time, overloaded completely, and went dark. Carrie collapsed. Jonah caught her, lowering them both to the platform. "I have got you. I have got you." Did I take anything?" she whispered. "No, you gave something. You gave them the chance to remember how to be human." He touched his chest, where his heart was pounding. "I felt everything. It was overwhelming, but I am still me. I still remember. You did not take, you just helped us find ourselves." Around them, medical teams were arriving. Security. Director Valen running scans and demanding explanations. But for just a moment, in the aftermath of prevented disaster, Carrie allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, her power did not have to be a curse. Maybe it could be exactly what Jonah had said. A reminder of what being human was supposed to feel like, even for an alien who had never been human at all. The data did not lie. Dr. Leonjo stood in the emergency command center, watching the incident analysis compile in real time. 0 casualties, 0 injuries from crowd crush. 347 people evacuated from a compromised section in under 4 minutes. It should have been a disaster. Statistical models predicted 12 to 15 deaths from stampede alone. Instead, they had a miracle. "Explain this," Director Valen demanded, pointing at the neural activity logs. Her anchor voice was active for 3 minutes and 17 seconds, unrestricted. That collar was designed to prevent exactly this scenario. The collar overloaded trying to stop her, Leon said, pulling up the device's diagnostic readout. But look at the crowd response patterns. This was not mass manipulation. Individual autonomy remained intact. People made choices, they just made them calmly. Because she forced them to be calm. No, because she reminded them they could be. Leon zoomed in on Jonah's biometric data. The voice passed through Mr. Cade first. Every command she gave he interpreted and amplified. He acted as a translation layer. Her alien influence became human suggestion. That is why it worked. That is why it is dangerous. Valen countered. If she can do this once, she can do it again. We need stricter protocols, stronger containment. She just saved 300 lives and you want to punish her for it? I want to control it. There is a difference. But Leon was looking at something else now. The crowd composition analysis. Among the evacuees was Rhett Chen, the student who had been posting anti-Carrie content for weeks. His biometric spike showed elevated heart rate, panic response, fear cascade. Then, at minute 2 of the evacuation, his readings changed. Heart rate decreased, stress hormones normalized, decision-making function increased. At minute 2.4, his location marker showed him moving toward the lost child instead of toward the exit. The kid who had been calling Carrie dangerous had chosen to help someone instead of running. That was not mind control. That was character. Down in the medical bay, Carrie was being examined by 3 different specialists. The collar had left burns across her throat. Her vocal cords were inflamed. Her neural pathways showed stress markers, but she was conscious, alert, and more importantly, she was free of the collar for the first time in 8 months. Jonah sat beside her bed, refusing to leave despite multiple requests from medical staff. His hand rested near hers on the blanket. Not quite touching, not quite separate. You should rest, he said quietly. I want to know if I hurt anyone. Her voice was rough, painful. If I erased anything, changed anything. You did not. I was there. I felt everything. You gave people clarity, not commands. There is a difference. How can you be sure? Because I am still me, still scared of failure, still guilty about the 9 I did not save, still aware that I eat too much reheated food and my apartment is a mess. He smiled slightly. You did not fix me. You just gave me room to breathe around the broken parts. That is all you did for everyone else too. A knock on the door. Dr. Leon entered, tablet in hand. Behind her, surprisingly, was Rhett. Carrie, I need you to see something, Leon said, pulling up the evacuation data. Every single person in that corridor retained full memory of the event. No gaps, no alterations. You gave them emotional stability, not control. The previous incidents were uncontrolled, panicked. You were a child with no training and no anchor. This time, you had both. Leon looked at Jonah with something like respect. Mr. Cade's human resistance to psychic influence acted exactly as we theorized. He filtered you, limited you, turned potentially dangerous influence into life-saving intervention. Rhett stepped forward, visibly uncomfortable. I need to say something. Carrie tensed. Jonah moved his hand to actually cover hers now, protective. I was wrong, Rhett said. I have been wrong for months. I was so scared of what you could do that I never asked what you would choose to do. When everything went wrong, you could have run. You could have let us die. You could have stayed safe. He swallowed hard. I was pressed against a wall, too scared to move. Your voice hit me like someone turning on a light in a dark room. I could see again. Think again. And I chose to help that kid instead of saving myself. That was my choice. You just gave me the ability to make it. He pulled out his phone and opened his social media. I have been posting videos about you, spreading fear. I am deleting all of it, and I am posting this instead. He showed them the new video. It was footage from the evacuation, shaky and chaotic, but clear. Carrie and Jonah on the platform, the voice activating, the crowd calming, people helping each other, the child being carried to safety. The caption read, "She could have let us die. She risked everything to save us. I was wrong. I am sorry." "You do not have to do this," Carrie said softly. "Yeah, I do, because you are not dangerous. We are. People like me who decide fear is easier than understanding." He looked at Jonah. "You were right. She is a person with a name, and I should have asked what it was before I decided who she was." After Rhett left, Leon pulled up another file. "Director Valen is pushing for enhanced containment protocols. He wants a new collar, stricter supervision, mandatory intervention schedules." "No," Jonah said flatly. "Mr. Cade, you do not have the authority. I am her anchor. Without me, her voice is unstable. With me, it is precise. That means I have all the authority, and I am saying no to anything that treats her like a weapon instead of a person who saved 300 lives today." Leon looked between them, at Carrie's burned throat, at Jonah's protective stance, at the data that showed something impossible, an alien power that could reshape minds, limited only by human emotional resilience and the choice to do good. "I will stall Valen," she said finally. "Give me time to present this to the Medical Ethics Board. But Carrie, you need to understand. What you did today changed everything. You proved you can help. That means they will want you to help again, and again, until you cannot anymore." "Then we make rules," Jonah said. "No forced interventions. No using her without consent. No missions without both of us agreeing. If they want a mediation team, they get a team, not a tool. That is not how station politics work. Then we make it work, or we walk, both of us." Leon studied them for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I will try, but Valen is not the compromising type." "Neither are we," Carrie said, her rough voice carrying unexpected strength. "Not anymore." That night, after the medical staff finally left them alone, Carrie and Jonah sat in silence. Her hand was still in his, the first real touch they had shared without a collar screaming warnings. "I felt everything you felt," she said quietly. "When the voice went through you, I felt your fear, your determination, your trust." She looked at him. "You were terrified, but you stayed anyway." "Of course I did. That is what you do for people you—" He stopped himself. "People you what?" He could say it. He should say it. But the words felt too big, too soon, too impossible for someone who had spent 3 years running from connection. "People you do not want to lose," he finished quietly. It was not quite what he meant, but it was close enough. Close enough for Carrie to understand. Close enough for her to squeeze his hand. Close enough for both of them to sit in the darkened medical bay and realize that somewhere between a bench and a broken collar, between questions nobody asked and trust nobody expected, they had become something neither of them had words for yet. But they would find the words eventually. They had time now. All the time in the world. The Medical Ethics Board hearing took place 3 days later in Conference Room A, a sterile space designed for difficult decisions. Director Valen sat on one side with his security team and legal advisors. Dr. Leon Joe sat on the other with compiled data, neural scans, and testimony from 43 evacuees. Carrie and Jonah were required to attend but not permitted to speak unless directly questioned. Carrie's throat was still bandaged. The burns from the overloaded collar had required regenerative treatment. She would carry the scars. Board Chair Mira Okonkwo opened the proceedings. "We are here to determine the appropriate classification and protocols for Carrie of the Voran regarding her anchor voice ability and the recent incident on Green Level 3. Director Valen, your position?" Valen stood, projecting authority. "The incident proves what we have always known. Anchor voices are weapons that require maximum containment. Yes, the outcome was positive, but it was also unauthorized, uncontrolled, and dangerous. I am recommending a new restraint protocol, Level 5 containment, and mandatory intervention scheduling." "Dr. Zhou, your counter-argument?" Leon stood, calling up her data on the main screen. "The incident proves the exact opposite. For the first time in documented history, an anchor voice was used at scale with zero memory alteration, zero personality changes, and zero loss of autonomy. The key factor was Mr. Jonah Cade serving as an emotional anchor. Every command Carey gave passed through him first. His natural human resistance to psychic influence acted as a filter, transforming potential mind control into emotional support. She pulled up comparison charts. Previous anchor voice incidents involved isolated, untrained individuals in crisis situations. Carey had training, had an anchor, and had the conscious intent to help rather than control. The results speak for themselves. Valen interrupted. The results also show she can bypass containment measures when motivated. What happens when her motivation is less altruistic? Then, her anchor stops her, Leon countered. Mr. Cade, can you describe what you felt during the incident? Jonah stood slowly, uncomfortable with the attention. It was like someone trying to rewire my emotions in real time. Calm trying to override panic. Focus trying to override chaos. But I am human. Humans are messy, we resist, we filter. I did not lose myself. I just gained perspective. And because I felt it first, I could translate it for everyone else. Make it a suggestion instead of a command. And if she had tried to force something harmful, I would have fought it, rejected it. My discomfort would have broken the anchor connection. He looked directly at Valen. She is not a weapon. She is a person with a dangerous ability who chose to use it to save lives. That choice matters more than your fear of what she could do. Valen's expression hardened. Naive idealism. We have protocols for a reason. Your protocols almost let 300 people die. Jonah shot back. Our lack of protocol saved them. Maybe the problem is not her power. Maybe it is your need to control everything. The room went silent. Chair Okonkwo raised her hand. Let us review the evidence without emotion. She pulled up Rhett's video, now viral across the station network with over 14,000 views. A civilian recorded this. It has been authenticated. We can see the intervention clearly. The video played, Carey's eyes glowing, her voice layering, the crowd calming, people helping each other, the child being saved by a student who, according to prior records, had been actively protesting Carey's presence on the station. Okonkwo paused the video on Rhett catching the child. Mr. Chen has submitted testimony stating he made that choice consciously, that the voice gave him clarity but not compulsion. We have 42 similar testimonies. She pulled up the neural scans. These are unprecedented. Every evacuee shows retained memory, stable personality markers, and voluntary decision-making throughout the incident. Dr. Zhou, in your professional opinion, what is the difference between this and previous anchor voice disasters? Leon took a breath. She had a human as a moral break, someone who felt the influence first and chose how to express it, someone who limited her power through their own humanity. She looked at Carey. She was not alone. That made all the difference. The board members conferred privately for 11 minutes. 11 minutes of Carey holding her breath, 11 minutes of Jonah's hand hovering near hers, not quite touching under the table, but close enough to be felt. Finally, Okonkwo spoke. The board has reached a decision. Carey of the Vorn will not be subject to enhanced containment protocols. However, given the demonstrated effectiveness and safety of the anchor system, we are authorizing a new program, voluntary psychic mediation. Carey and Mr. Cade will serve as a crisis intervention team, but only under the following conditions. She listed them. 1. All interventions must have consent from both team members. No forced missions. 2. A medical specialist must monitor all applications of the anchor voice. 3. Mr. Cade must undergo training in psychic resistance and emotional anchoring. 4. Carey will be reclassified from restricted entity to specialized personnel with full station citizenship rights. Carey's breath caught. Citizenship. Rights, not entity, not asset. Personnel. And the collar? Leon asked. Destroyed during the incident. Given the success of the anchor system, replacement is deemed unnecessary. However, Carrie will be required to wear a monitoring device during interventions. Valen stood abruptly. This is a mistake. You are giving an alien psychic free rein based on one successful incident and the word of an untrained maintenance worker. No, Okonkwo corrected. We are acknowledging that sometimes the most effective protocol is not control, but partnership, and humanity has always thrived through unlikely partnerships. Dismissed. Valen left without another word, his security team trailing behind. But Leon was smiling, actually smiling. You did it, she said to Carrie. You are free. Carrie touched her throat. The bandages, the scars beneath them, the absence of cold metal. Free, she echoed, testing the word. Jonah squeezed her hand under the table. Free. That evening, they returned to the garden, to their bench, the one that had been empty for so long before Jonah sat down and asked a simple question. Other people were there now. Students, workers, families. Some nodded to Carrie. Some smiled. Some came up and said thank you for the evacuation, for the chance to think clearly, for reminding them how to be human. Red appeared with his study group. Hey, we wanted to apologize formally, and to say if you ever need anything, we are here. Thank you, Carrie said, her rough voice still healing. That means more than you know. After they left, Jonah turned to her. How does it feel, being seen as a person instead of a threat? Strange, good, terrifying. She touched her throat, the honest gesture. I do not know who I am without the fear, without the isolation. Then we figure it out together, same as everything else. She looked at him, really looked at him. This human who had changed everything by doing the simplest thing imaginable, sitting down, asking her name, staying when everyone else left. Jonah, she said carefully, when this started you were running from your past. Now you are my anchor. Does that feel like running? No, he said honestly. It feels like finally standing still. For the first time in 3 years, I am not trying to escape anything. I am just here with you. Why? Because being around you makes me want to be better than the person who ran away. Because you are brave and kind and powerful in ways that have nothing to do with your voice. Because you laugh at my terrible jokes and try to pronounce Earth slang even though it sounds ridiculous. Because... He stopped, the words too big again, but Carrie finished them. Because we saved each other. Yeah, he said softly. That. They sat in silence as the artificial sun set through the dome above. Other people came and went. Life happened around them, but they stayed on their bench, hands finally openly touching, no collar to warn them, no rules to stop them. Just two people who had been running for so long, finally choosing to stay, finally choosing each other. And somehow, that was the most revolutionary thing they had ever done. 4 months later, the bench had changed. It was still their spot. Still the place where Jonah ate lunch and Carrie waited for him. But it was not empty anymore. It was not avoided. It was just another bench in the garden, occupied by two people who happened to work together, happened to care about each other, happened to be changing what was possible. They had a small office now. Well, office was generous. It was a converted storage room near the garden with 2 desks, a first aid kit, and a sign that read, Crisis Mediation Services, by appointment and emergency. Today, their first official appointment was a nervous third-year engineering student named Kara, who sat across from them wringing her hands. I have exams in 2 days, she said, her voice shaking, and I cannot sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see myself failing. I know it is just anxiety, but I cannot stop it. My roommate said you helped during the evacuation, that you could help with this too. Carrie leaned forward, her posture open and unthreatening. I can offer emotional stabilization. It is not mind control. It is more like giving your nervous system permission to calm down. But I need your consent. And I need you to understand that I will only address the anxiety. Your memories, your personality, your knowledge stays intact. How does it work? Jonah spoke up. She uses her voice, but it goes through me first. I am her anchor. Think of it like a filter. If she accidentally tries to do something beyond calming anxiety, my human stubbornness stops it. I make sure the influence stays helpful instead of harmful. And it worked during the evacuation. 347 people will tell you it did, Jonah said with a slight smile. Kara took a shaky breath. Okay, I trust you. What do I do? Just sit comfortably. Close your eyes if it helps. Carrie glanced at Jonah, who nodded and placed his hand on her shoulder. The anchor connection established instantly now. They had practiced dozens of times over the past months, learning the boundaries, learning how to work together. Carrie's eyes shifted to that faint violet glow, her voice layered with the anchor influence, but softer now. Precise. Controlled. Kara, your anxiety is real. Your fear is valid. But right now, in this moment, you are safe. Your mind can rest. The panic does not serve you. Let it quiet. Just for now. Just enough to breathe. The effect was subtle but immediate. Kara's shoulders dropped, her breathing evened, her hands unclenched. How do you feel? Jonah asked gently. Like someone turned down the volume on the screaming in my head. Kara opened her eyes, surprised. I can still remember the exams, still know I need to study, but it does not feel like drowning anymore. That is all we do, Carrie explained. We give you space to function. The rest is up to you. After Kara left, promising to return if she needed a follow-up session, Jonah turned to Carrie with pride evident on his face. You are getting good at this. We are getting good at this, she corrected. I could not do it without you. Sure you could. You are the one with the power. No, you are the one who makes it safe to use. She touched her throat. No collar now, just the faint scars that had faded to silver lines. Without you, I'm just afraid. With you, I can help. They walked to the garden for lunch, their routine as solid as ever. But now, people greeted them, asked how they were doing, mentioned that someone they knew might need help and could they make an appointment. The bench was occupied when they arrived, a young couple eating together, laughing at something on a shared tablet. Carrie hesitated. Our spot is taken. Good, Jonah said. Means it is not the forbidden corner anymore. Means it is just a nice place to sit. They found another bench nearby, under the engineered trees. Jonah unpacked his lunch. Carrie had brought her own today, a container of human food she was still learning to enjoy. Pasta with too much sauce, the way he made it. I got a message this morning, Jonah said between bites. From Station Kepler 7. They heard about our program. They have a hostage situation brewing. Diplomatic talks breaking down. They want to know if we could consult. Another station? Carrie processed this. That means leaving Helix 3. For a few days, maybe. Dr. Leanne would come with us, full medical support. And it is a request, not an order. We can say no. She looked out over the garden, at the people moving freely, at the space that had been her prison becoming her home. A few months ago, I would have said no, too scared to leave the only place that knew how to contain me. But now I think maybe other stations have people sitting alone on benches, people who feel forbidden, who need someone to ask their name. Jonah smiled. So that is a yes? That is an, I will think about it and we will decide together. Which is more than I ever thought I would get to say. They finished lunch in comfortable silence. Then Red appeared, no longer hostile, Just a regular student who sometimes hung around their office asking questions about psychic theory and emotional anchoring. "Hey, quick question," he said. "There is this girl in my applied physics class. She seems really stressed lately. Would it be weird if I suggested she talk to you two?" "Not weird at all," Carrie said. "That is why we are here." "Cool. Also, I posted an update about your program. Got about 30,000 views. People are calling it the most human approach to alien powers they have ever seen." After he left, Jonah laughed. "From enemy to publicist. Character development." "People can change," Carrie said. "We did." "Yeah, we did." That evening, as the artificial sun began its automated descent, they sat on their new bench and watched the garden fill with evening crowds. Families, students, workers ending their shifts. "Do you remember the first day?" Carrie asked. "When you sat down and asked my name?" "I remember thinking you looked lonely, and I was tired of being lonely. So I figured, why not be less lonely together?" "It was revolutionary," she said quietly. "That simple question, that simple choice to stay. Revolutionary is a big word for eating lunch on a bench." "No." She turned to face him fully, her violet eyes catching the last of the artificial light. "You gave me my name back. You stayed when everyone else ran. You trusted me when I did not trust myself. You chose to feel everything I could do to you and still held my hand. That is revolutionary. That is the most human thing I have ever experienced." Jonah was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You know what the most alien thing I have ever experienced is?" "What?" "Realizing that caring about someone can be stronger than fear. That choosing to be vulnerable can be more powerful than any weapon. That sitting on a bench with someone can change your entire life." He smiled. "You taught me that. So, I guess we are even." She reached for his hand. He took it without hesitation now, their fingers intertwining naturally. "What do we tell Kepler-7?" she asked. "We tell them what we tell everyone. We are not weapons. We are not tools. We are two people who figured out that the scariest power in the universe is not mind control. It is choosing to care about someone despite every reason not to." He squeezed her hand. "And if they want help, we will give it. Together. Always together." "Always together," she agreed. Somewhere in the station, Director Valen was filing reports about uncontrolled variables and insufficient protocols. Somewhere in the station, Dr. Lian was presenting their success data to medical conferences, proving that sometimes the best science is admitting that human connection cannot be quantified. Somewhere in the station, Rhett was posting another video, this one titled, "How an Alien and a Maintenance Worker Taught Us What Humanity Really Means." But on that bench, in that garden, Carrie and Jonah were simply existing together. Not running, not hiding, not afraid. Just two people who had been forbidden and broken and lost, now found. The message from Kepler-7 waited for their response. Other stations would follow, other crises, other people sitting alone, waiting for someone to ask their name. But for tonight, they stayed on their bench. Hands held, scars visible, collars removed, names spoken freely. "Hey, Carrie," Jonah said softly. "Yes, Jonah? Same time tomorrow?" She smiled. Not the sad half-smile from before. Not the scared version or the controlled version. Just her smile. Real and whole and free. "Same time tomorrow," she agreed, and every day after that. Because that was the thing about humanity Carrie had learned. The thing that made them special, that made them impossible, that made them terrifying and beautiful and worth saving. They chose to stay, even when it was hard, even when it was scary, even when every logical reason said to run. They sat down, they asked names, they held hands in the dark, they stayed. And in the end, that stubbornness, that impossible, illogical, beautiful human choice to care about someone despite everything was more powerful than any psychic weapon ever created. It was the thing that could change the universe, one bench at a time, one name at a time, one choice to stay at a time. Before she was forbidden, now she was Carrie, and he was Jonah, and they stayed. In the end, Carrie and Jonah didn't prove that humans are fearless or noble. They proved something quieter, and far more dangerous, that choosing to care is an act of rebellion in a universe built on caution. Their story reminds us that sometimes the smallest decision, sitting down beside someone everyone else avoids, changes more than protocols ever will. So now the questions turn to you. What corners of your own life have you avoided, and what would happen if you sat down anyway? Which fears in you are actually invitations waiting for courage, and if someone reached for your name, your real one, would you stay long enough to be seen? If you made it this far, which already makes you braver than most directors of interstellar protocol, write the word Anchor in the comments so we know you stayed until the last heartbeat of this journey. Tell us your city, your point of light in the dark. And if this story hit you somewhere between the ribs and the soul, subscribe, like, hype it in the void. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that connection is still humanity's wildest superpower. And watch the next video in the card appearing on your screen now.